Hi everybody, thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Finding Influencers, the Who, the Why and the How. I'm Jasmine Jean, I'm our Product Marketing Manager here at Brandwatch, and today I'm joined by Joel.
Hello, I'm the Marketing Manager for EMEA here in Brighton.
For those of you who don't know, Brandwatch is a social media monitoring and analytics platform. So today, Joel's going to talk to you a bit about what an influencer is, how influencer marketing works and why you might be interested in it. And then we're going to show you some practical examples of how you can actually find influencers online using social media tools. Then at the end, we'll take some questions from you and do a short Q&A.
So when we first sat down to talk about this webinar, we realised the word influencer does actually sound a bit buzzwordy and almost a bit cringy. But it really is the most appropriate word to use. But what it actually means is the people, so the people behind social media, the people of influence. So traditionally, it would have been people like this. So it does seem a bit silly, of course, but trust figures have traditionally been positions of authority. So politicians, CEOs, police officers, judges, that kind of thing. And in the last 10 years, there's been a shift in trust in who people look to for trust and authority. And you can see that kind of thing with Amazon reviews and those kind of sites that have come to the fore. So people are now looking to their peers and people within their social sphere of influence for those kind of recommendations. What influencer marketing is looking for those kinds of people. So we're talking about digital marketing here, digital influencer marketing. So finding those kinds of people use their social networks to share it. So it makes a lot of sense that this shift has changed. Now, it does have a party on your screen right now, but that's because I think it's a neat analogy to try and explain what influencer marketing really is. So if you imagine your marketplace as a big party of people, they're the kind of people you're trying to target. With traditional marketing, it's like standing in the corner with a megaphone and trying to get everyone's attention all in one go. So imagine a big billboard somewhere. You're trying to get everybody's attention with one big message. Now, with influencer marketing, you look for the most popular people in the party. So these would be the most popular people online, for example. You would go up to them, come up with a tailored, personalized, bespoke message that appeals to specifically them, who then, hopefully, those people will then share your message with other guests at the party. And it's a much more organic way of spreading the messaging that your brand wants to convey. So if you see this in practice in digital media, you'll see that the brand will be speaking to just Amy. So she's the popular person at the party. They'll find something that Amy is particularly interested in regarding your brand, and the idea being is that she'll share that with her network of friends and with her peers. Those people, again, will in turn share it with their peers, and it's a much more organic, contagious way of spreading your brand message. So it's using that viral nature of social media to spread the kinds of things you want. But what's actually the point? So why would you want to target just Amy and not everyone in the party in one go? Well, Sony have got some really compelling, interesting research, actually. And it shows that people are 5 times more likely, more than 5 times more likely, to buy if they've heard a recommendation from a social peer, someone they follow on Twitter, for example, than they would by having seen the advert directly from the brand. Also from Sony is that they sell TVs, they sell cameras, they sell games consoles. They have millions of customers. They've identified 15% of those customers as having significant social influence, so being worth targeting in this approach. Now, by targeting those 15%, they found that sales went up 3 times more than when they were trying to target everyone in all in one go. So influencer marketing for them is absolutely integral. Now, there are different types of influencers, so not everyone's the same. Not everyone is the same kind of person that you can target with your message. One type I've isolated here does seem a bit silly, but it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's massive impact, rocket launcher. It's going to hit a load of people all in one go. They've got a lot of reach, which means lots of followers or lots of influence, but actually they're not that targeted. So people don't look to people like Arnie specifically for toothpaste advice, for example. So if you're a toothpaste brand, perhaps looking to Arnold Schwarzenegger to spread your message isn't quite the most potent, despite the significance of his reach. What we generally concern ourselves with digital influencer marketing is the sniper. So she's seen using the same weaponry as Arnie, but actually she's got the nous to know that it's really loud when you fire a gun and the eye protection. So she really knows her stuff. Far fewer people know about her, but the people who do know about her and follow her will be looking for her for specific, advanced, sophisticated advice. And she holds a lot more sway over the people that do follow her. So what we are talking about here is online influencers, really. social media is the perfect facilitator for this kind of thing. So I've isolated 4 major examples that we concern ourselves with here. The first being Facebook. So people who post on Facebook an awful lot, you all know someone who's the person who with, I don't know, 2,000 friends on Facebook that they don't know in real life. But they do have a significant amount of influence. The same with Twitter. A few thousand followers really can have quite an impact. Blogs, they sound like last generation technology or a little bit older internet technology, but they have millions of readers, and people look to blogs for advice. And even when they're searching on the internet for brand products or for that kind of information, blogs are often the first thing that comes up. So being able to control that message of what goes in a blog is really, really valuable for a brand. The last one, I've just put a globe. I know that's not that representative of what I'm trying to say, but I'm looking for people here that are professionals. So journalists would be a classic example. If you can influence the kind of people that write professionally or have a sway over a particular community professionally, then you're doing a great job of controlling what goes out in your brand. So I just wanted to quickly go through a couple of examples. So the first one, none of you will know this, but that's actually my Twitter handle. So I've got my little car here. Now Ford, I talk sometimes about cars and social media, and I interviewed the head of Ford a few years ago, head of Ford's digital, sorry, Scott Monty, and they sent me this in the mail, this little card with my Twitter handle on, and said this lovely little custom message that said, if you tweet a picture of it, you're automatically entered into a competition to win this car for real. So I did. And for Ford, they reached a few thousand people more than they might have with an advert. So that's what it feels like to be the kind of influencer, the person contacted by the brand. What's it like from an operational perspective, from the brand's perspective? There is a brand that I don't like saying it that much, but it's Filippo Berio. And what they did is this really cool influencer campaign. So they knew which kind of people they wanted to target, 25 to 39 age. These are the kind of people who use olive oil once or more every week. They're into their cooking. They lived in a particular segment of the United States where they wanted to target. And at least 250 of them were actually maintaining an active blog. So they got in touch with 2,500 people using these kind of techniques I talked about. They sent them all these fantastic products, these free oils. They sent them coupons and had a site that they sent people to go to and sent them information, 5 emails over 5 weeks with what they wanted people to do. So say, why don't you publish your latest recipes or talk about cooking and engage with the kind of things we're interested in. Using this, so remember they just targeted 2,500 people, but they actually reached 1 million consumers. So this impact thing, this virality, contagion thing that I talked about earlier really does work, and they must manage to reach far more people with this approach than they might have done for a natural or more traditional marketing approach. 286 blog posts were published, and actually this graph that I've got on the screen in front of you shows their sales before the campaign, which went up quite a significant amount during the campaign, but also the sales figures were sustained. So these campaigns aren't just one-offs and they don't exist in isolation. These things can have a long-lasting effect upon the performance of your business. So what I'm trying to get across here is that there are measurements that you can start to apply about how successful each campaign was, and Jasmine's going to talk in a second about how you can specifically find those people using different metrics. But I do want to iterate that this isn't an exact science. There's no template that you can use. This worked for them, I'll do the exact same thing. You really have to work with these metrics and work with this kind of advice to work out what works best for you.
So yeah, as Joel said, there are different ways of defining influencers. So you might find that the way you define an influencer is different to others. But we're going to show you a few practical ways that you can see different types of influencers on different types of sites. And you'll see at the moment that you've got a poll on your screen. So if you vote for which type of influencer you're most interested in, we'll then show you how to find those type of people. We'll try and get through as many of them as we can, but we'll go through the most popular one first. So I'll give you a couple of seconds now to fill that in. So we're going to go and show you the Brandwatch tool. So obviously you can use other social media tools, but obviously we're from Brandwatch, so we're going to show you using Brandwatch. So it looks like Twitter was your most popular, so we'll go through that one first, and as I said, we'll try and get through the others if we have time. So for those of you who don't use Brandwatch, this is our default dashboard screen. And I've set up a search for electrical cars. So this is, rather than looking at a brand, it's looking at a topic. There's all the conversation on Twitter specifically, I've set it up before, talking about eco cars. I'm going to click on the authors tab within the default dashboard. And this is telling me all different stats about the authors within my query. So query is the word we use for the search term we're looking for. And I'm going to scroll down to this table called the tweeters table. So this is specifically showing me information about the people on Twitter talking about this topic. At the moment, it's ordered by impact. Impact is a score that Brandwatch creates, and it's an algorithm based on how likely a mention is to be seen by other people and how engaged with it is and the influence of the person who's tweeted it. But you might also think, well, I want people who just have loads and loads of followers. So if we sort by followers, you'll be able to see that actually sorting by followers isn't that great, because the top author is National Geographic. Yeah, they've got thousands and thousands of followers, but they've only talked about this topic once. So they're probably not going to be that influential within this community. If you're specifically looking for people within a niche community like eco cars, targeting someone like this is probably not going to be that useful. Another way you could look at is CRED. So CRED, for those of you who don't know, is a score from 0 to 1,000. And we integrate it into the app because we think CRED is a good way of sorting influence. It has its flaws and some people don't trust it, but there are different ways of working out influence, so you have various different options. So again, we see we have the same problem as followers. This is Associated Press's Twitter account, and again, they've only tweeted once, so it's probably not going to be a targeted influencer like Bill was talking about.
With the Arnold Schwarzenegger type.
Yeah. So ways you can get around this is you can go into the filters of Brandwatch, and if you go into the Twitter filters, you can say, well, I only want people with a minimum of, say, 5,000 followers. And if we apply that filter and then order by impact, we'll find that the top author has lots of followers, but they've also talked about this topic quite a lot. And if we click through to their profile, we can see it's EV news, so electrical vehicle news, they're interested in all things to do with electrical cars, and they've got over 7,000 followers. They're a really good example of an influencer within this community that would be great to target. You can also see that we've got some information about the demographics here. So you might say, well, I only want individuals. I don't want organisations. I want Twitter accounts who are run by individuals who are particularly passionate. Or you might say, well, I want only male or only female. So again, you can do that in the filters within Brandwatch to find them. And once you've found your author, you can add them to an author list. So you build these lists over time, build up a list of influencers that you want to engage with or you want to nurture relationships with, and over time you can build on that list.
I think the cool thing about when you compile a list, you can actually use that list elsewhere in Brandwatch, so you can start looking at what all your influencers are talking about or which platforms they use, for example.
Yeah, so you can use the author list across the app, so as Joel said, that's a really good way of then diving deeper into what those people have said. So that's looking at Twitter. It looks like blogs were second most popular, so let's have a look at top bloggers. So this one I've set up is a query about the fashion brand Topshop who sell clothing. And I might be Topshop myself, I might be wanting to find my own influencers, or I might be another brand that's like Topshop that has a similar target market. And I'm looking for fashion bloggers who mention Topshop, who might be a good person to target with event invites or maybe sending them samples or sending them information and outreaching to them. So again, I'm going to click on the authors tab, and this time I'm going to use the authors list, which has all the authors from across my query. But we can see it has Twitter and Facebook when we just want to look at blogs. So we're going to go into the filters again, and this time we're going to click on page type and choose blog. Now, not all blogs are equal. Some blogs are much more read and much more popular than others. You know, I've got my own little blog that no one reads, I'm sure. So we want popular blogs specifically because we're looking for people with influence. So like CRED, we also have MozRank integrated into the system. MozRank is from 0 to 10, and it's a score created by Moz, which is based on the number and popularity of backlinks to a website. They say an average website is about 3, and the best is 10. So I'm going to put on a minimum MozRank of 3, and then I'm going to apply those filters.
You can also use news as a page type because the line between news and blogs is blurred a bit. Some news sites will have a blog, some blogs blog on news. So.
Yeah, that's very true. So within the page type, you could say, I also want news sites as well. So now we've done that, we can see that our top author is Vanessa Jackman. So let's take a look at what she's saying. And we can see that she is indeed mentioning Topshop. So we're going to look at that mention. We can say, okay, she's taking photographs of clothes. So let's click through and see what her blog's actually all about, and see if she is actually a relevant author. We'll see, once it loads, that she writes about clothing a lot. We can see from her bio that she's actually a photographer. So she's taking photos of clothes, and we can see that she's also linking back to where you can buy those products. She's a really good person to target, because if she likes your clothing or likes your event, she's probably going to take lots of nice photos of it and then send links so her readers can come and find your products. And if we click through to her Twitter account, we can see that she's got over 5,000 followers. So chances are she's a pretty influential person within the fashion blogging community. So that's an example of finding a blogger, and again, as with tweeters, you can add them to a list, and you can do that with all authors across the app. And you can also set up searches for specific authors if you wanted to. So
one more?
I think we've got time for one more. So I'll show you forums now. So this time I've set up a query for HSBC savings accounts. And if any of you are particularly interested in financial services, we've actually got a financial services report coming out next week if you want to look out for it. So this is HSBC savings accounts, and again I'm going to go into authors, and I'm going to use the authors table, and this time I'm going to say I only want the page type to be forums. And like with blogs, I'm going to put a MozRank filter on again, just to get out all the little forums that don't have that much engagement on them. We can see our top author is typing on Money Saving Expert, which is a really well-known and respected financial forum. So if we look at their mentions, we can see that they're actually talking negatively about HSBC. And this is something you might find. Your influencers might not always be advocates of your brand, but they're still really important to track. You might want to reach out to them and see if you can change their opinion of your brand if they're talking negatively about you online. Or you might just want to keep track of what they're saying to make sure they're not saying anything untrue or anything that you would significantly impact your brand. And we can see this author has been on this forum since 2008, and they've posted a lot, so they're probably quite well respected within this community. And it's within forums that we find, although you might think they're a bit old school, forums are actually where we have like very niche communities where people talk very specifically and very in-depth about particular products, whether it be finance in this case, or there's car forums or mums forums.
I think that's the best thing about it, actually, because Twitter, anyone can be on, but if you're going on Mumsnet or Piston Heads, the only reason you're there is because you're into cars.
Yeah.
So they're really actually quite targeted.
And you can see that you could also filter if you wanted to say, well, I only want to see positive mentions, so I only want to find my advocate influences, or I only want to see the negative ones. So you can do that within the filters as well. And again, you can save them to a list if you want to. So I think that's all we've got time for, so we have some time for your questions. How does Cred compare to Klout? Pros and cons. I think Cred and Klout are both valid ways of measuring influence, and I think it really comes down to your personal opinion. As Joel was saying earlier, like everyone has a different feeling about what influence is, and Cred and Klout are two different ways, and there are lots of blogs online that you can look up that say what is wrong with each of them or what is right with each of them.
The thing I like about Cred actually is that they completely expose how they calculate the score, whereas Klout keep lots of it to themselves. So if you're into knowing the workings behind it, then Cred's probably one to go for.
Yeah. Someone asked, how much is a good average impact number? That's a really good question. Impact is logarithmic, so it's from 0 to 100 based on your query. So the person within that query that has the most influence is going to be right at the top near 100, and the person with the least impact within that query is going to be right down at the bottom. But you'll find that if you had a different query, the same author might be in that query result as well, but might have a different impact score, because it all depends on the query and also the date range, and it's all in comparison to others. Someone's asked, how do you access the author list? So the author list is within the default dashboard. So yeah, we can go back and I can show you. So once you go into Brandwatch, so this is the home screen of Brandwatch, and I've set up my query string, so I've set up my search. I can then click on that and open a dashboard. Then once you're in the default dashboard, so this is already all set up for you, you can then click on the authors tab, and there's the authors list. You could also add it to a new tab as a component if you want to create your own dashboards and customize them. You can see that that's there.
So the lists are actually stored in tools, right?
Yeah, yeah, you can go into tools. Yeah, so you can add, you mean actual authors?
Yeah, I think that's the question.
Yeah, so if you go to tools, you can then go to author lists, and you can see I've got Topshop influencers, which is just that author that I've got at the moment, but I can add to that over time from within the app. How is impact measured? Impact is measured based on various different things. It depends what the site is. So for Twitter, it will take into account followers, retweets, the number of tweets there are, and various other things like cred score.
Yeah.
For different sites, it will take in different things. So
MozRank actually for sites.
Yeah, MozRank and backlinks, visitors. So it really does depend on the site and what you're looking at. So it takes into all those things into account and then works it out on an app basis.
We tried to build it so that it was applicable to anything, so that you can compare someone on Twitter to someone on Facebook to someone on a forum. So although different metrics go into calculating the score, it's a really handy metric to have that's pan-platform.
Yeah. Can you check if the mentions are positive if someone mentions your brand a lot?
Oh, absolutely. So the way our sentiment classifiers work, they automatically classify every mention that you're looking at as positive, negative, or neutral. Now, we're not one of those arrogant companies who says we get everything 100% accurate. You know, we think we've got some of the best technology available, but actually sometimes it is wrong. So what we encourage is using it for a macro, so looking across your query, roughly how much of the conversation is negative. You can also set up alerts and say, tell me every time someone mentions me in a negative way. But ultimately, if you want to get right down to the granular aspects, you can look at each mention and say, do you know what, that probably isn't that negative. I'm going to reclassify it as neutral. And that goes straight back into Brandwatch and changes it for you.
Yeah, how does the tool handle Facebook? So we do track Facebook, but as everyone knows, Facebook is a closed community, so we don't track private information, so we can't see people's private profiles, and we'd be breaking the law if we were. So we do track what we can on public pages, but we didn't get to show you today, but we've also got a feature called Channels, which lets you track your own Facebook page and other people's public pages, so brand pages on Facebook, and it collects all the metrics to do that. So how many posts the author has posted, how many audience posts there are, comments, likes, people talking about this over time. And we've got a default dashboard specifically for Facebook channels where you can look into those metrics and find out like the most impactful audience members and the most impactful posts and that kind of thing. If you want to know more, get in touch with us and we'll be happy to show you.
That's through the Facebook API as well.
Yeah. Suggestions on how to reduce spam or false positives?
Yeah, so I suppose there is always going to be a manual element to influencer marketing. I think just looking at the numbers and simply sending out messages to all those people is never going to be the most effective approach. What these tools are designed to do is help you compile a shortlist. So they take it from 1 million people talking about your brand to maybe a couple of thousand, which you can hopefully whittle down to just the ones that you want to contact. But I think there is always going to be a case of people not being the person you thought they might be.
Yeah.
So things like MozRank and Twitter follow accounts should help you get rid of the sort of worthless ones, like what Jasmine did earlier. She put a MozRank of 3 on to get rid of the less reputable sites.
Yeah.
But yes, there's always a manual element involved.
All right, I think we're going to have one more question and then we'll be running out of time. So someone's asked, do we support foreign languages? And the answer to that is yes. We have full support, so including sentiment topic analysis for 27 languages. And we have no restrictions as to where in the world we track, so we track data from across the world. So sorry if we didn't get to your question today. We'll follow up with you afterwards and answer directly for you so that you're not missing out. There's clearly quite a lot of questions, so if you are particularly interested in this area, we're actually releasing an influencer report next month, which will go much more in depth into these kind of topics, so keep an eye out for that. And there's more information also on our blog if you want some more stuff about influencers and want to find out more information. And of course, feel free to get in touch with us. If you want a demo of Brandwatch, or if you just want to ask us a question or anything that you've seen today, then feel free. Our details are on the screen right now. And
this has also been one of our best ones in terms of how many people have signed up and so on. So what we're planning on doing is doing one of these kind of webinars once a month towards the end of the month. and I think you know what the next one is, don't you?
Yeah, so our next one will be towards the end of February, and will be all about understanding your community more and really getting to know the people behind the conversation, so as well as influencers, everyone else talking about your brand. When we send out the slides and the recording to you, we'll give you a link to sign up for that if you want to. So that's all from us today. Thanks very much for joining us, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.